and we've got our R tracker. So you've got all your other indicators there, and you've got your R tracker. Now that's the system performance tracker. So your next step is to, once you've loaded the system performance tracker up, you need to do a couple of things. You need to open that up, so you go Format, and what you'll do is you'll find that R tracker comes up with basically version 1.1. It's got an initial stop. Now we spoke about the R multiple. Now this is where the R multiple comes into play. Whatever your initial stop is on your strategy, that is what you want to be putting into that initial stop ticks. So if my initial stop on crude oil, I'm using the crude oil US session because I know there's a lot of people who are trading that, so let's get out of this for a second and we'll just take a step back and we'll go to the strategy for a second. We'll examine the strategy before we go into the R tracker, because we need to, for those people who aren't trading crude oil, we need to set the scene for basically what this system or what this strategy has running on it. So if we go to the morning session, we know that we're running basically a strategy. We're running the longs and the shorts. So we've split the strategy into longs and shorts. As you can see there, the longs are on, which is telling you that by the buy and the sell is on, and the short side is off. You can see that. And then our short side for the same period, 9 to 9:10, is the shorts are the longs are off and the shorts are on. And the reason why we split these two between longs and shorts is because they're trading different days. At the moment, I've got this thing trading on the long side only Tuesday. That's it. It only trades a Tuesday on the long side. This system here on the short side trades every day except for Tuesday, so it's turned off on that day. So basically I'll split the system. Rather than trading longs and shorts every day, I've found that it's very profitable on the long side on a Tuesday. On the short side it's profitable every day except for Tuesday. So it's interesting that that's come out that way. Now at the moment our strategy runs with from 9 to 9:10, and it's got a 14-point stop. So basically we've got $140 worth of risk, $10 per point on crude, using a negative 3 hour trailing stop. So that's basically the strategy on crude. Very simple. It's been very effective, and we'll just have a quick look at the equity graph there, and it's taking a little bit of a drawdown, but it's running okay at the moment. So onwards and upwards. We'll see if we can obviously get a couple of winners here this week, but that's I think that's back for about 3 or 4 months. So if I then look at this system, I've worked out obviously from what I've shown you there what's working on the long side, what's working on the short side. But the trouble is that previous to this I would have to manually go in and kind of identify what parts of the system are on and what parts are off. So that is time consuming and a pain. So what we want to do once we load this system performance tracker up, you need to do two things. You need to set up your optimized chart, which is basically the best settings you've got, which I've got here on crude oil. Then you need to set a second chart up that basically tracks all trades. So we need to set a second chart up, and you can just set up another workspace, which we can do here. So we go File, add a new workspace, and we want to basically just set up a brand spanking new, which we'll do here. Copy it, and we'll set up, and we'll call this one our raw data. So this is our raw system. So this system here will be taking all longs and all shorts, because we need to know that our system performance tracker is monitoring all days of the week, both longs and shorts, because at the moment the system performance tracker won't be recording any of the results that we've turned off. So if we've basically turned off one of these days of the week, which we have on the short side, it's not going to be recording that information. So we need to have what we call our optimized chart set up, which you'll need to label your optimized chart or whatever you want to call it. And then you need to have your raw data loaded onto a raw chart, which is your vanilla system. So trading longs and shorts. Does everybody understand why we have to have the two charts? That if you turn something off, then it then isn't tracked. So at least if you've got something if you've got the system or the indicator loaded on your raw chart or your vanilla chart, it'll be tracking every single day of the week, every single time of the day that you've loaded onto that chart. So that's critical. So yeah, you definitely have to have the two charts running. So here we go. We've got our new chart loaded up here, and that's great. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go into our new vanilla chart. We're going to just make sure our settings are on. All our settings are on. So we can basically, what we can do is we can get rid of one of these. So we can remove that because we're just going to run all systems, all days as well. So we'll go in, we'll format and say yes, we want to trade, we want to track every single day. So we'll set everything to true, and that way at least when the indicators loaded up onto this chart, it's tracking everything for us and telling us what to turn on and off based on our parameters. So we know that we've got an initial stop of 14 points, so that's loaded up. So we have our vanilla system, we have our optimized strategy. So now what we do is we then say, right, well, our initial stop or our R multiple is negative 14 or $140. So let's go in and decide what kind of a drawdown we want to have on this system. So if we go back to our optimized chart, drawdown, and we'll go into the US session, that's the afternoon, go to the morning session. There's our morning crude. So you'll see that my max drawdown, that's my maximum drawdown details. Now, let me ask you as a group, where would you potentially put your circuit breaker? What would be your circuit breaker? If you're just looking at that data there, you have a quick glance at the performance chart, you can see that it's really not giving much away as far as drawdown. You have a look then at the maximum drawdown that it's had has been 660. Its intraday maximum drawdown, peak to valley, has been 9,060. So where do you think you might stick your maximum drawdown? Now I'll get you each to put in where you'd run your R break or your circuit breaker. So when we say our circuit breaker, remember we're using our R multiple. Now our R multiple is negative 140, so it's a multiple of negative 140. So 1R is negative 140. So where do you think you're going to put your circuit breaker on this system? And I want everybody to have a go at this. Everybody to put a value in it. And it's going to be interesting because we'll definitely get different values for different people and different levels of risk. So where would you stick your R multiple or your circuit breaker in? So we've got 700, 6R is Jim, just outside the drawdown. Yep. So we've got some people who want to have a more aggressive one, and others who want to have it so it just sits outside of that maximum drawdown. Yeah, this is, you'll be able to play with this and get an idea of what works best and what doesn't. So let's just go with setting it at around about negative 840, just hypothetically speaking, negative 840. So we've had a look at our equity graph. We know that if we sit it just under these average drawdowns or this max drawdown, we're pretty right, and negative 840 is a comfortable value for us based on our trading account and our level of risk. Because remember too that the risk component that you have in your trading has to match your trade psychology. And what I mean by that is what you've prepared to accept as far as a drawdown. Now, you need to make sure that when you look at your system, you go through and have a look at what its maximum drawdown is, maximum consecutive losing trades. Those things need to be done before you even start trading the system. So what we want to do is we want to go in and say, right, well, our maximum drawdown is, or our R break is going to be negative 6R. So if we go into our strategy now and we grab our R tracker and we say, right, well, all right, I'm going to have a max R drawdown of negative 6R. So I'm comfortable with that. So we'll leave it as it is. It's actually the default, so that's perfect. Now, what do you think your bounce point is? Now, remember we spoke about our bounce point. So our bounce point is going to be where we turn this system back on. So what is going to be our run up or our get back in point? So for that, we're going to go back to the equity graph, and we're going to have a look at basically our worst drawdown is going to be obviously negative 840, and so what are we prepared to, once we hit our worst drawdown, which we could have had here, obviously we could have had our equity low or our maximum drawdown or a max drawdown there. At what value do we get back into this system once we've had a drawdown and we've turned the system's turned off? What are most people prepared to see before they commit to getting back into it? Because if this was your, say for example, this was your, I'll just get rid of this part here. If you could only see this part of the equity graph, then you're wanting to decide when do you get back in. So at what point, how much money are you wanting to see? Are you wanting to see it make new highs, or is it positive 3R? Yeah. So positive 3R, positive 4R. Yeah. So everybody's going to be different, obviously, and 4 good winning trades. So we're all going to be different. We'll leave it at 3R just to leave it at that value. So now that we've got the system set up, the indicator set up, now what's going to happen is we potentially want to have this customized, so we could say if Wednesday was typically really bad as far as trading, and it's drawed, we might want to be a little bit more aggressive on a potentially a bad day. We might want to customize our R multiple slightly differently for different days of the week. So what I've suggested is, at the moment with the input, that input covers every single day of the week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, longs and shorts. So that's our generic setting for the system. However, as we know, the system is, the way we trade and track the system, we actually micromanage the system. So the system is, and I'm just going to go to an example here. So let me just move over to a spreadsheet here, and I want to show you something that's kind of a little bit more. So at the moment, this is a trend trader, and as you can see, the system actually runs, obviously the system runs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, as all systems do, but we're wanting to optimize this system to only run and work at certain times based on performance. So we're breaking it down into longs. For those of you who haven't seen this before, we're breaking it down into longs and shorts on those days as well. So what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to not just track the time of the day, we're tracking the performance of each day as well. And what we're wanting to see is, we're wanting to see that what I was thinking is that we may want to actually have each of the days broken up as a specific R multiple, circuit breaker, or bounce point. So you might find that you don't necessarily want negative say 6R and positive 3R as your circuit breaker and you get back in point for every day of the week. You might want to customize a little bit. So what we're going to basically be looking at doing is actually having a settings for each specific day of the week. So when you initially set your system up based on its performance, you can customize your circuit breaker for each day. What you're going to find is that you're going to run a raw system, which will track obviously the days of the week based on longs and shorts and all trades, and you're going to probably be running, particularly we've got traders like some of the traders in here trade multiple time frames, so you might run, say, a session at 9 to 9:10, then 13 to 1400 or 14 to 1430. So if you've got multiple time frames running, you're basically going to want to run that on a raw system, so have all settings running so you can track whether that system's on or off. Now let's go back to the chart and let's have a look at exactly what the indicator looks like at the moment. So remembering too though that the indicator is going to change slightly over the next couple of days, and I'll just make reference to that change here shortly.